Choices. We all have choices to make. I have a mentor, and he had encouraged me years ago, always select the dry path. And that is so true. Most people are looking for greener pastures. And what he was, of course, referring to is what's in our devotional today, the story of Lot and Abraham. And there is that tendency that we have to select the greener pastures. And what's interesting about that is is a line of thinking to where you select in the flesh for the flesh. I've had so many situations where God has been directing me in a certain way, and at the same time, I feel that the enemy has presented a situation where he dangles, usually finances, but he'll dangle something out there to where it will look so promising. When we look at the text this morning, it talks about in Genesis 13:12 how Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent towards Sodom. And we see this progression that Lot is making, and it's really interesting. What brought about the decision that they had to make is that their flocks had grown, and they finally had to separate and part ways. And there became a division between the herdsmen. And so their stuff kind of got in the way. The possessions that they had became a problem for them. And so this created a division, and they parted ways. So he began to kind of look, because Abraham gave him the choice, which I think is absolutely amazing. Abraham is a phenomenal character. And he gave Lot the choice. He preferred him. And what Lot did was, Lot used his flesh, his eyes, his senses, and he saw, these are the greener pastures, and this is what I will select. And so that's what he ends up doing. And interesting is you have Abraham is a man, he's a father of faith. And so he's going to trust God in all of this. And God has increased his flocks. God had directed him. And because Abraham was a man that lived in a tent, he was able to pick up and go where God would have him. If you end up following Lot, Lot ends up, he drives his stakes down. He actually has a house when it's all said and done in Sodom. And so he was looking, and then he's leaving. He ends up in verse 11 of Genesis chapter 13. He leaves altogether Abraham. So this is his mentor. This is the one that he has been identified with, he associates with. He completely leaves him, and now he's on his own. He's kind of looking towards Sodom, and eventually you find that he lives down there. He ends up going down there, and he's living amongst the people. What I see is this downward spiral. If you'll go and look at Psalms chapter 1, you'll begin to see this downward spiral. He's getting closer and closer and closer until he actually kind of becomes one of them. He's looking, he's leaving, he's living, and then he's leading. We find him in the city gates. This is an individual that is right there in the midst of the city gates. He's not realizing what is happening to him, and also what's happening to his family. His family's watching him. His family's seeing. His family's being influenced by the culture, and it's beginning to take a hold on them. Do you ever ask yourself the question, how do I make right decisions? What is the process whereby I make right decisions? One of the things that you see here that's very, very clear is never did Lot consult the Lord. In fact, even when the Lord comes in and he begins to send an extraction team to bring him out, he lingers because now his heart is entangled with all of this. What if his heart was really leaning towards the Lord? What if he was seeking the Lord through all of this, he would have a much different path. What about us? Do we look to the Lord in the Word of God? Do we look to the Lord in prayer? Do we look to the Lord in seeking counsel, wisdom? When someone asks us a question about what it is that we're doing, are we open to share all the details and to receive the counsel from a godly individual that has walked a life of faith? If so, then we're probably making good, solid choices. I think this is a very good lesson for us to learn, is to really look at this. I would encourage you to go back and read all of these passages about Abraham, because we see a contrast between a man that truly is a man of faith and an individual that ends up being vexed. If you take a look at 2 Peter 2:8, yes, Lot is a righteous man, but he is vexed by all of this. What kind of life do you want? One that's vexed or one that's victorious? It's about making choices. We make choices. It ends up influencing our children. They make choices. We can have that victory, or we can be vexed. It's your choice. May God bless you. Thank you for watching these videos. Thank you for sharing them with your friends. Like, subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.